And the CEO came to me and said, "Bill, I got good news and bad news." And I was like, "Just give me the bad news." And he was like, "You're no longer like qualified to do anything in accounting and finance." And I was like, "I never was." Luckily for me, the only company stupid enough to hire a 26-year-old to take them public was an internet advertising company in 1996. I can't wait for me to be one right next to Martin Sorrell. We've done 10 acquisitions in the last 5 years.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Denford, co-founder of ID Comms. Welcome to another episode of Media Snack Meets, where we get to meet the individuals and organizations doing great work to inspire success and drive change through the global media and marketing industry. Each week, because my guests are short on time, we just ask 6 questions in 15 minutes or less. And with each guest, we want to know what's behind their success, what it takes to make change in the industry, and maybe some of the things that the rest of us can learn from those experiences. My guest for this week is Bill Wise, CEO of Mediaocean. Hey, guys.
Hello, gentlemen.
Where are you? There you are.
Cheers.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Good to see you. Lots of familiar faces in the intro. I could see you backstage.
I can't wait for me to be one right next to Martin Sorrell.
Exactly. Right. So you know the format, so we'll get straight into it. As I said, really pleased that you could join us. And I mentioned that you're CEO of Mediaocean. You have been for a long time, and you've been on a fascinating journey. Maybe we can learn a bit more about that. And there's some been interesting recent things I'm sure you're going to touch on in this recent developments and announcements with the company that if you feel free to share with us, because I think really some really interesting work that you guys are doing. So first off, just explain for those that don't know you or Mediaocean, what is it you do, and something that in your journey, either at Mediaocean or elsewhere, that you've been most proud of.
Sure. So Mediaocean was founded off of the merger of 2 actually competitive businesses, Donovan Data Systems, or DDS, which was founded in 1967. And then a much newer venture-funded startup that I was running called MediaBank. We merged together in 2012 to form Mediaocean. So by virtue of that merger, we're actually a 54-year-old company. I like to say we're the oldest startup in the space because even though we have decades and decades of history, I like to run this business as a startup. And at the core of what we do is we're the system of record for the industry, right? If you are a planner or a buyer at a major agency, you kind of use us like traders use the Bloomberg terminal.
Yeah.
And in all, we process about $150 billion of advertising spend on an annual basis. And obviously the last, 10, 15, 20 years, the ad tech industry has become incredibly complex ecosystem. A lot of valuable companies have been, born from kind of this supply chain, and just I kind of love what I do. I love the company. I love the space, and that's Mediaocean.
Good, and I mean, you've been on a fascinating journey. So those of you that know you know that you've been through some amazing companies in that time. So, but what do you look back on as being that you're most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of, the ability to kind of stay ahead of the market, right? I mean, the market is moving at such a fast pace that you kind of have to aim ahead of the target because it's such a fast moving target. Mm-hmm. So the ability for, Mediaocean and myself to kind of stay ahead of that market and know where the target's headed is incredible. I mean, we've done 10 acquisitions in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And that's because, the market was moving at a pace where, I thought, hey, I can't keep up organically. So there needs to be both organic growth and inorganic growth. And so, that's what I'm kind of most proud of is, just kind of predicting where the market's going, placing some bets, and being able to look back and say, yeah, on average, those were good decisions.
Good. Love that. Right. Question number 2. So I can guess that you're quite passionate about the media business, Bill, but what is it that gets you most excited? What's the best thing about working in media?
it has to be the people. So I don't know if you know this about me, but the first 4 or 5 years of my career, I was a certified public accountant or CPA. And it was interesting because I was actually blessed that I was not a good accountant. So I needed to find a new career. But that industry was interesting because the loose links kind of dropped pretty quickly. And then the really strong links ended up leaving the chain and kind of going on and being investment bankers or being controllers or CFOs of companies. And I felt like mediocrity rose to the top. Luckily for me, the only company stupid enough to hire a 26-year-old to take them public was an internet advertising company in 1996.
Yeah.
And that company was, their name at the time was IAN, which was an acronym for Internet Advertising Network. It's like naming your dog. And there's a bunch of tech guys from Atlanta that knew nothing about the industry. They ended up selling a piece of the company to an ad agency who had a digital division called DoubleClick. And as part of that investment, we took over the name DoubleClick. And I just kind of got lucky in that, I took DoubleClick public. And the other nice part is 1 year later, we were a publicly traded company about a year and a half later. And the CEO came to me and said, "Bill, I got good news and bad news." And I was like, "Just give me the bad news." And he was like, you're no longer like qualified to do anything in accounting and finance. And I was like, I never was. And so, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, you want to get an MBA? You're going to get it here." And so I just kind of been blessed, and I've been doing it for 2.5 decades since.
Good for you. Next question. As Mediaocean as a business, you sit in a really interesting position because as you mentioned, you refer to yourself as this system of record that we see you as. So normally a media snack, we're either taking the perspective of the marketer or the perspective of the agency, really in quite that kind of transactional way, or the perspective of the the publisher in the marketplace. But you connect all of these. So from your perspective, and there's lots of challenges in the business that we're all trying to resolve. From your view, what's the biggest challenge that we need to try and overcome as an industry?
So I think when people think about supply chains, I think people think of like the complexity of retail supply chains or food and beverage supply chains or consumer packaged goods or auto, right? Like how to go from inception to like making a car. People don't think about kind of the media and advertising landscape as being an incredibly complex supply chain. Yeah. And what we've seen is that supply chain, the people who have solutions in the supply chain have arguably become more valuable than the principles of the business, right? You've seen, companies like the Trade Desk went from inception to $40 billion of market capitalization in 10 years, right? And so, and Trade Desk got to the point where they were worth more than the top two holding companies combined, right? So, at the core of what we need to figure out is how do we make the supply chain more simpler, particularly as more and more media gets connected to an IP address or is digital or is even programmatic within digital. And so I think the biggest challenge we have is, and Mark Pritchard says this all the time is like, when I spend $1 of media, $1 of advertising, I want like $1 of media or 95 cents of media. When it comes to digital programmatic, in some cases, $1 of advertising results in 40 cents of working media, 50 cents of working media, 60 cents of working media. And that's not sustainable if all media eventually is going to become digital. And so I think the biggest challenge we as an industry have is how do you deal with the complexities there? How do you deal with a very rich supply chain? How do you deal with interoperability so that, poor planners and buyers are not logging into 12 different systems? And at the core, that's, kind of what Mediaocean's mission is to be a key player kind of in that transformation.
Yeah, very good. Never short of word, Bill. This is good. I've got to keep you honest on time. So we're halfway through. This is good. We're on track. This I'm really interested to kind of hear because you've been in so many influential and leadership positions of companies that have grown and been successful and have become well known. but also you must have some great mentors as well. So what's great leadership advice that you've either learnt or that you now pass on to others in your role?
Yeah, so leadership is interesting, right? I don't feel like you can take a class on leadership or like, leadership. I feel like there are certain people who have leadership or don't. And I think a lot of times, particularly in like the age of social media, people think about leadership as like followers or like I have this many followers on Twitter or I have employees follow me, and I don't think leadership is about creating followers. It's actually about creating future leaders, right? And so when I think back on my 2 to 3 decades of leadership in this industry, I am most proud of seeing the people who I nurtured, and the fact that they've gone on, to create, to be CEOs at companies or be C-level executives at companies, like, or we have a guy at our end in my company now who literally started in the mailroom and is now running one of the largest groups in the company. Like that just gives me so much. That just gives me so much pleasure, and excitement and energy. And I think the other part is like I kind of grew up like this poor kid with a single mom. We had no. I never knew we had no money until I got to college. And then I was like, wow, I really have no money. And so for me, I'm always rooting for the underdog. I always love, like, you kind of find there's so much talent in this industry. So for me, leadership is all about creating the next generation of leaders.
Yeah, I love that. Very good. So moving on nicely. So, I mean, you obviously have clear passion for the people that you work with and the talent in the industry outside of work. Now, I know you have 5 kids, I think, which probably keeps you very busy. So apart from that, where would we find you? Where do you go to kind of recuperate and reflect away from the media industry?
Yeah, so it is true. I do have 5 children, and I actually think that keeps me young. I actually have 2 in college and 2 in diapers, and then 1 in high school. And so kind of like having those extremes has just been incredible. And I think when my older kids were younger, I was trying to start my career, and you're young and you don't really have money and you can't afford help, and and now I feel like I'm just enjoying parenthood the second time around, because I have the luxury of kind of already did it, and kind of seeing it through a different lens has just been such a gift to me. And so outside of that, which between work and that, there's not much time. I as we talked about earlier, I'm a huge Chelsea fan. So one of the few Americans who follows English Premier Football.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge Miami Dolphin fan, which has been a curse, because I don't know if you follow the NFL, but they're terrible. I'm hopeful this year they might be better. I love to snowboard, and I finally got one of my kids to be a snowboarder with me. And then at the end of the night, I love to kick back with a California cab. So love my red wine.
Very good. Good. Right. So just on a little bit of reflection, I mean, you talk very eloquently about some of the challenges in the industry. I mean, particularly in the very complicated supply chain, which I think Mark called the murky supply chain. It's getting a bit better, I think, now. And we are seeing a bit of consolidation, but it's slow.
Yep.
I mean, is that an area of focus? If we just think, because I want to probe you on what your kind of ambitions are for the year ahead, or your hopes for us for the next 12 months. In a year's time, what would you like to have seen that would be a real good step change for the industry?
Yeah, we like to say that marketers need to market the way consumers consume. And certainly through the pandemic, you've seen kind of this transformation to streaming and digital, that probably over 6 or 7 quarters, it would have taken 6 or 7 years to get there. And so in the years ahead, I think there's just going to be mass innovation towards that transformation. Certainly Mediaocean thinks it's an incredible opportunity. So we're I went back to my board and said, I need another $10 million to invest in R&D towards this opportunity. And then the other part is, I think we all want to start spending some of that T&E that we've saved over the last, 14 months. Get back to Cannes, get back to CES, get back to visiting clients. And for me, this industry, people talk about work-life balance, like work is my life, life is work. Some of my best friends are from this industry. So, for me, I can't wait to just get back in front of people. And I think that's where the magic occurs, right? Is being in front of your clients and the principals and collaborating. That's where the magic is.
I hope you're right. We look forward to that. Bill Wise, CEO of Mediaocean, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Who would you like to meet on future episodes? Please let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel, where you will also find previous guests, including leading media executives from companies like P&G, L'Oreal, Mars, MasterCard, and many more. Plus some of the industry's most provocative thought leaders, such as Belinda Smith, Jerry Dakin, Professor Mark Ritson, Nadine Karp-McHugh, and Gary Vaynerchuk. You can also subscribe to get new episodes each week, and if you like this episode and think someone else would, then please do share it. Thanks so much for watching.